Okay, howdy, folks. Welcome to the weekend video. I hope you had a great week, and I hope you also have a great weekend. Uh, I feel like I need an intro tune or something. I need to develop some intro music because these intros are getting worse, aren't they? I'm definitely not. I should work on it during the week. I promise to do that. I'll work on it this week, and next week there'll be, a mind-blowing intro to the weekend video. Okay, shut up. Get on with it. All right. I'm going to start, obviously, like every week, I'm going to start on the 4 hours, go down to the hourly or half-hour chart, and just try and orientate myself. And in doing so, orientate yourselves towards the coming week. Okay, so we'll start with euro dollar again and move on from there. All right. So I'm going to focus on the alternate account, which is circled in red here. And I'm going to, because after today's action, this count just got, let's say the bias is shifting back towards the bearish outlook again. Okay. So here the alternate count it looks a little bit like this. We have a wave 3 here, a correction in wave 4 into last November's low, and then we have the 5-wave pattern off that wave 4 low to create wave 5 of C of B. So we have 5 waves up to wave 5 green to complete 5 of C of B. All right. So from that, we're looking for an impulse kind of wave to the downside. Ideally, probably a series of impulse waves to the downside. So the alternate count, again circled in red, views this as wave 1 down. And this most definitely is a 3-wave pattern. So that could be wave 2. And we could have a wave 1 here and a wave 2 here. So there's a possibility that we're either working on a 5-wave wave 1 again, and we might get another wave 2, and then like a break of previous support there. This is most likely the key support. Well, key level really in the longer term is 119.60, and that would be the high here at the previous wave 1. For the shorter term, 121.50 or 121.51 is the key in the short term, key level in the short term. Okay, so let's get back. Let's get rid of some of this again. So the idea in the alternate count is that we have 5 waves down, 3 waves up, 5 waves down, and possibly 3 waves up just complete. So let's get down into this is the 30-minute chart. So there's the alternate wave 2, and that looks like something like this. We have a 3-wave, 5, 3, and 5 into a slight new high, and from that high we had a kind of a spill downwards in a possible beginnings of a third wave. That remains to be seen, obviously, but it's most definitely my bias is shifting towards that outlook, the bearish alternate outlook here on euro dollar. So let's go over today. So we have the operating wave count up to this point, and this wave count here from here on is the alternate count. Okay, if I haven't confused you already, I probably have by now. So mission accomplished. All right. So the impulse move down off that high definitely kind of tweaked my interest a little bit, and the fact that we got a very corrective looking, whatever the actual structure is there, it's still very corrective looking. And over the last couple of days, then we've had further impulse moves to the downside, and very corrective uh, sideways kind of action in corrections to the upside. And today again, then we've had kind of a further fulfillment of short-term patterns. So it's definitely looking like the bearish alternate count is kind of its stock is rising basically. So we have a wave 1, 2, a possible 1, 2, and then a third wave, which would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we're now kind of correcting higher in a three-wave pattern, which would be wave 4 of 3, and then with a bit of luck on Monday we get a further decline in wave 5 of 3. So suffice to say that the short-term pattern is most definitely developing in an impulsive fashion, and if this continues, we have the possibility of a larger degree Elliott wave signal developing, which would be 5 waves down in pink labels to create a wave 1 to the downside in brown there. So 5 waves down largely is what we're looking for, and then a 3-wave correction in wave 2. So that sort of over the next, possibly the next week, if we see a completion of 5 waves down and 3 waves up next week, along with a break of that short-term support here at 122.15, that will more or less trigger the bearish alternate count, and we could call a high in place at 124.76. Or sorry, that was, let's get that correct if we're going to say it at all. That high would be, sorry, 125.56. We would call that the high of wave, this large degree wave B here. And from that point, we'd be looking for a very tradable entry point once we have 5 waves down, 3 waves up, complete a very tradable entry point to the downside. Okay, so that's euro dollar. Next week, we're looking at a completion of 5 waves down. Okay, pound dollar. We've definitely got more instructive action that has occurred over the last week, and it's pretty much confirmed the bearish count. We won't get actual, let's say, by the rulebook confirmation until we get a break of these previous levels here, 130.27, and but that's a long way down. And then this high of wave 1 here, which I believe, let's see if we can get a high on that. Let's get a level on that, about 135.40 or so. So, well, I can get a level there. Yeah, 135.48. So if we get a break of that 135.48 level, which is still, 350 or 400 odd points down below here. So we kind of want to orientate ourselves. We want to clear up the short-term pattern quicker than having to wait, for the price to move that far. Okay, so you can see off the high there on the 4-hour chart here, the price has broken the 50-period moving average. It's down through now after today. It's down through the 200-period moving average. Soon enough, we'll get a turn down here. We'll get a bearish cross on the moving averages. We've had this. I've been talking about this downward sloping trend line for a while now, and that has not been the momentum high. I think I spoke about it in last week's video, did I? The momentum high happened at the high of wave 3. Ever since then, we've had this lower highs, and this week then we got the bearish signal with the central line crossover in both RSI and MACD, and now we're into pretty much a full cyclical downturn in momentum. So let's get on to this 30-minute chart again. We'll go out to an hourly chart just to give us some perspective. So that was the previous wave 5 there that we saw. That completes wave 5 of C of C of 4. So from that point, we've had a nice decline, about 350 points off that high, and we've got clear moves, 5 waves down, 3 waves up, waves 1 and 2 off that high. Then on Wednesday, was it? Thursday, sorry. We've had 1, 2, a possible 3, 4, and a developing 5th wave. So even since I published the nightly update, then cable has moved lower again. So I think the idea, let's get to the 30-minute chart again. I think the idea that this wave 5 gray of 3 is now extending in a further 5 wave pattern is probably correct. So we have 1, 2, 3 into that low, 4, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Probably, if that happens, that's all the better for the short-term outlook, which is pretty much hard bearish now at this stage. The pattern in general in cable has been more compliant, let's say, than Eurodollar. There's still obviously that air of uncertainty in Eurodollar, and in cable it's been kind of leading or walking, say, the bearish pattern quite well. Okay. So for next week, we want to see for Monday probably we want to see a completion of this third wave here. So 5 waves down in wave 3 here, and then we'll probably hang around support here for a while. There's a previous support there, the previous 4th wave. So this kind of 140, 139, 140 level will most likely hold wave 4 in wave 4 pink there for a couple of days, and then a further break of key support. This is all obviously ideal scenario, but a further break of key support there at 139.29 would be very beneficial, and would be the beginning of an Elliott wave signal to the downside here, also in cable. So at that point, we would look for a 3-wave rise in wave 2 brown, and once that completes, then we have the signal in place, and we'll be looking at a bearish entry, obviously, or sorry, a bearish. Sorry, excuse me, I'm going blank. Now you know that I record these videos live, don't you? The possibility of an entry to the downside on that, on cable. Okay, so Eurodollar and cable both looking pretty solid bearish in general. Okay, so dollar yen. So far, I know I changed the count there the other day, but so far we have 5 waves up in wave 1 green, 3 waves down in wave 2, and then 1, 2, 3 contracting triangle wave 4. If you can see that, it's actually a failed 5th wave in wave 3, A, B, C, A, B, C, ABC somewhere in there, and then 2 more waves. You can see, clear that up. That is just a mess. Come on, get to it, Enda, will you? A, B, C, D, and E. So contracting triangle. After staring at it for an hour or so, that kind of popped out at me. So that was a 4th wave. And then off that 4th wave, there's a clear 5-wave pattern to the upside. And even 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and even within the 5-wave pattern, in wave 5, there's a 5-wave pattern there. So the immutable laws of the Elliott wave are very visible in dollar yen right now. So off that high, it's been pretty pretty dead in dollar yen. There's definitely a corrective decline in wave A. I think this is in general unfolding after today's action. I think in general it's unfolding as an expanded flat. So we have wave A down, wave B up, and we'll most likely get a 5-wave pattern down in wave C into about 106.50 or 60, something like that. So for early next week, we still want to see this. I know I've been waiting all week for it, but we still want to see this wave C complete, and then we will have 1 2 1 2 pattern complete, and a possible entry to the upside available to those of us who are sharp enough to entry, or sharp enough with our entry skills. Okay, let's move on now. Stocks. We definitely had a move to the downside, which is unfolding quite nicely, let's say, and it's more in line with what I want to see. So at the close, we're closing at about this chart here is a derivative, so the actual closing price in the cash market might be a little bit different. 124.70 or something like that. Well, sorry, 24.470 or something like that. In general, the pattern is the same. So off the recent high, I think that was Wednesday, we have 1 2 1 2 3 4 5. So at today's low, I think we have wave 3 complete as a 5-wave pattern. So wave is a possible wave 3. Again, I might be moving this this wave count up a degree, even though I did I did do that a few weeks ago. But you never know. Let's get to the 4-hour chart here. You never actually know for certain when a trend is changing. You just don't know at what degree the first move down is actually unfolding at. So you kind of take your best guess, and then after that you'll have to kind of let's say review your expectations to bring them in line with the actual price action. So I mean, this wave 1 blue here may actually be 1 degree higher as wave 1 red. So we might have a 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 pattern. Again, it's not against the grain by any. This is just kind of a discovery process that we have to go through. So, sure, may as well leave that there. I'll just talk about the 4-hour chart, seeing as I'm here, seeing as I'm sitting on it. Right now, you can see the price is more or less back below the 200 period moving average there, and we are back below, or excuse me, I think I'm about to sneeze, but I'll see if I can hold it off. This declining trend line here that connects the 3 previous highs, the price did punch below it slightly. We've just ended the session, I think, slightly above that declining trend line. So it's at kind of a pivot point here, really. I mean, you've got 2 moving average lines and this declining trend line. So we're definitely at an important point in the price structure. If we get a failed break, like I think you can pretty much count that as a failed break of the 200 moving average there again. So that'd be a third failed break, 1, 2, and 3, and that to me is it's a deadly setup. Early next week again is important in this, and let's go down to the hourly chart for that reasoning. So we have 1, 2, 3 possible waves. We'd probably look for a wave 4 on Monday, so some sort of a correction in wave 4, and then a punch lower again in wave 5 to complete 5 waves down at possibly wave 1 Roman numerals here. We'll see again if it's a case that I have to move up the degree of the wave pattern. Well, we'll do that. We'll deal with that in time. So, well, again, what we're looking for early next week is a 1-2 pattern. So we'd have 4 degrees of 1-2 patterns to the downside on the table. It would be pretty much a screaming sell signal in general. Just when everybody's turning bullish again, obviously, which would be perfect timing, really. So early next week, let's look for the price action to fill a 5-wave pattern down, and we'll deal with it from there. Okay, so this is gold. In general, let's go to the 4-hour chart. I introduced this slightly different alternate, a different alternate count. Excuse the irony. So we could have an alternate wave 1 at the recent high there, and the reasoning for that would be a leading diagonal, possibly 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 waves up, and from that point, a possible 3 waves down would create a 1-2 pattern in the alternate count. That alternate count was looking for let's see, the 3-wave decline, I think, was calling for about 13.15, I think, or something. Yeah, about 13.15 to complete, for the price to come down and meet that lower trend line again. So we have 2 targets in general. We have the operating wave count, which calls for about 1300 to 1303, a break of 1303 anyway, and then the alternate count, which calls for a 3-wave decline into about 13.15 to complete that correction. So again, both counts were calling for a decline. We are well on the way to completing at least the let's say the minimum expectation, which would be 13.15 in the alternate count. So on Monday, I'd like to see a further decline into that lower trend line, and again we'll deal with it from there, because the way we'll know if price is shifting to the upside again would be if price hits the trend line at about 13.15 and then moves up in an impulse pattern upwards, 5 waves up, 3 waves down. Well, then we'll pretty much trigger the alternate count, and we'll be looking at this long-awaited rally to actually appear. So that's gold. Early next week, declines into the lower trend line, minimum target 13.15. Okay, so let's get to 4-hour oil. So oil in general is closing out at quite a high degree, 5th wave in blue here. So I think we can actually get rid of that alternate now. So 5 waves up in blue. I think the low, what was that low? 40. It was about wave B here, $45. Yeah. So off $45, we've had we're tracking a 5-wave pattern to the upside, and we're all but complete here. We're very, very close to completing this wave 4 correction here. This wave 4 in red, and you can see that we've got wave 3, contracting triangle, wave 4, and out of the contracting triangle we have wave 1, 2, possible wave 3, maybe even complete wave 4. and we should see one more pop up to about the 72, maybe minimum break of the wave 3 high anyway. So up to about the $70 area to complete this 5-wave pattern and complete the larger correction altogether. At that point, we're looking hard down for crude oil. I don't see any other way for this market to go. The patterns are pretty damn clear, and I think crude will sell down as aggressively as the stock market. Okay, so let's get down. What we're tracking here is this 5-wave pattern to the upside in wave 5 blue. So let's get down to the hourly chart and see where that is. So you can see here the previous wave 4, and off that wave 4 we see wave 1, 2. Now this is wave 3, and I'd hedge my bets on this one, but I'm almost sure that wave 3 is complete. I know we have a proportion problem here, but we do have a proportion problem with the internal with the internal wave structure. But I think the Fibonacci targets that have been met are, it's more than enough of an indication to me to say that wave 3 is complete, and especially the rise off that previous wave 2 low does indicate a 7-wave pattern rather than a 5-wave pattern. So you can see a 1, 2, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that would suggest 1, 2, 3. So that would suggest 3 overall waves rather than 1 overall wave. And I'm going with that the view of 3 overall waves. So you can count wave 1, 2, 3, and then a complex wave 4, and now we see a pretty clear 5-wave pattern up in wave 5. So that completes 5 waves up in wave 3. We can also see that at the peak of wave 3 was the peak of momentum. So, well, we had a kind of a double top there in MACD, but and a double top in RSI, more or less. So we've got a peak momentum, and from that we'll probably get lower highs as wave 5 closes out. So I think we're looking at the real kind of, let's say, the last gasps of this bull run in wave C here. Next week should be an up week again. I think we'll probably hit $72. Looking at the Fibonacci extension here, this here would be the wave 1. The wave 1 Fibonacci extension from the wave 2 low. So that the 161.8% extension there suggests $72 as a completion for the overall 5-wave pattern. I think along with the double top in momentum, we're definitely shifting into a wave 4 and 5 scenario. So early next week, I would like to see the high here of the previous wave 1. I'd like to see that hold. So that'll be 66.55. I know we're hovering around those levels now. Well, yeah, we're about 150 points off that level right now, but we're close enough to be, a danger. And if that's the case, if we get a break of that 66.55, well, then we'll probably shift to viewing the overall rally as complete. It may tilt in favor of a more bearish alternate at the moment. And my brain is beginning to shut down right now, so I'm going to leave it. I could quit while I'm ahead, and wish you all a great weekend. To close out crude, we're looking at next week possible pop to wave 5, maybe about $72. So you could watch for that, and definitely 66.55 must hold in that scenario. So for next week, or sorry, for the weekend, wish you all happy, peaceful, partyful, whatever you're up to weekend, and we'll see you all survivors gather back at bullwaves.org on Monday evening. Until then, Godspeed. Bye bye.